Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit, I've been staring at this screen for what feels like an eternity, trying to figure out how to even begin. I'm not exactly a wordsmith, but I need to get this off my chest and maybe, just maybe, get some advice. So bear with me if this is a bit of a rambling mess. I've been with my wife, let's call her Ava, for 6 years now, married for 3 of those. We met back in college, dated, the whole shebang. I always thought we were in a good place. Sure, we had the usual arguments about finances and stuff, but I figured that was just part of marriage. Boy, was I naive. Last Friday night, ripped the rose-tinted glasses right off my face. Ava had invited some of her friends over for their regular get-together. Usually I just hole up in my home office, working or gaming, but this time I ventured downstairs to grab some snacks from the kitchen. That's when I overheard them. Ava, her best friend Chloe, and a couple of other women from her workplace were chatting away in the living room. The topic? Relationships, marriages, the usual girl talk. I wasn't really paying attention until I heard my name. Chloe was in the middle of some stupid hypothetical, her voice all casual, like it was just a fun little game. But seriously, Ava, what if someone better came along? What would you do then? I wasn't intentionally eavesdropping at first, but my name caught my attention. And well, screw it. If they were talking about me, I had a right to listen. And then Ava, my wife, didn't even hesitate, didn't even pretend to give it a second thought. She just went, ugh. Honestly, just look at Mark, like I was some outdated tech she was tired of but too lazy to upgrade. Then she laughed, like it was the most obvious thing in the world, and said, he's fine, I guess? But if someone with more drive, better prospects came along? Yeah, I'd probably upgrade. They all laughed. Like it was the funniest joke ever. My own wife basically telling her friends I'm her starter husband or something. But she didn't stop there. Nope. She launched into a whole laundry list of things she wished were better about me. I was floored. Who says this? I felt like some damn used car she was waiting to trade in the moment something shinier rolled onto the lot. Apparently I'm too safe and boring. I don't make enough money to give her the lifestyle she wants. Our house isn't as impressive as her friend Sarah's new place. My car is embarrassing. It's a 2020 sedan, for crying out loud. Perfectly good car, BW. I'm not ambitious enough because I've been at the same company for 4 years. I just stood there in the kitchen, listening to all this. Like, you know when you're watching a movie and something truly messed up happens and you're just frozen? That's how I felt. My wife casually telling her friends she'd trade me in for a better model. The worst part? None of her friends even disagreed. They were all like, yeah, I get that, and you deserve better and stuff like that. One of them even said, at least he's good with the house stuff, like I'm some kind of glorified handyman. I must have stood there for like 10 minutes while they dissected every aspect of my life. My job, I work as a mechanical engineer, steady job, decent pay. My clothes, apparently I dress like a dad even though we don't have kids. Even the way I laugh, too loud? Seriously? The thing is, I've always supported Ava. When she wanted to quit her job to try starting her own business, I covered all our bills for 8 months until she decided she didn't like it anymore. When she wanted to go back to school for her master's, I paid for it. That car she drives, that's so much nicer than mine. Yeah, I make the payments on that too. But listening to her talk to her friends, you'd think I was some lazy bum who just sits around playing video games all day. She even complained that I spend too much time working, the same work that pays for everything she wants. I ended up going back to my office without getting any snacks. Couldn't eat anyway. Just sat there staring at my computer screen, trying to process everything. Like, how long has she felt this way? Has she been telling her friends this stuff all along? Is this what she really thinks of me? All these memories started flooding back. Times when she made little comments about other guys having better jobs or nicer things. How she always seemed a bit embarrassed when we ran into her work friends. The way she keeps tagging fancy houses and cars on Instagram and sending them to me with messages like someday or goals. I always thought she was just dreaming big or whatever. Now I'm thinking she's been trying to tell me I'm not good enough this whole time. Yeah, maybe I should have picked up on it sooner. But when you love someone, you don't want to see that kind of stuff, you know? Looking back, there were probably tons of signs I missed, but hearing her actually say it out loud to her friends, that hit different. Really makes you question everything. I started thinking about all the stuff I do for her, all the ways I try to make her happy, and what do I get back? Apparently, I'm just some placeholder until someone better comes along. But I couldn't just pretend everything was normal. I tried for maybe an hour after her friends left. Just sat in my office thinking about everything, reading your comments, trying to figure out what to do. Around midnight, I finally worked up the nerve to talk to her. Her friends had all gone home and she was in our bedroom getting ready for bed like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't just told everyone she'd trade me in for a better guy if she got the chance. I walked in and just straight up asked her, "Did you mean what you said to your friends about upgrading from me?" You guys should have seen how fast her face changed. First, she looked confused, then shocked. Then she tried to laugh it off. "Oh my God, were you listening to us? It was just girl talk. Don't be so sensitive. Just girl talk," that's what she called it. Like somehow that makes it okay to tell your friends you're actively looking to replace your husband. I told her I heard everything. The comments about my job, my car, how I'm not ambitious enough. All of it. You know what she did? She tried to turn it around on me. Well, if you're going to spy on private conversations, you're going to hear things you don't like. That's what she said. Like I'm the bad guy for hearing her trash talk me in our own house. Then she started with this whole thing about how I'm taking it too seriously. And you know how the girls get when we're together, and we were just joking around. But I kept thinking about how none of it sounded like jokes. You know, when someone's joking and when they're saying what they really think but trying to cover it up. So I told her, even if you're joking, you should still respect me in front of your friends. Because that's the bare minimum, right? You don't just casually humiliate your husband like it's some kind of game. But she just rolled her eyes, a smirk playing on her lips. Like I was the one making a big deal out of nothing. Like I was the problem for expecting some damn basic decency. I asked her straight up, "Do you actually want to be with me? Or am I just convenient until something better comes along?" She got mad then, started crying, fake tears looking back, and saying stuff like, "I can't believe you'd question my love for you, and you're being so insecure, and maybe this is why I feel stuck sometimes." That last one really got me. Stuck? After everything I've done for her, I basically laid it all out, how I've supported her through everything, paid for her master's degree, covered all the bills when she wanted to try her business thing, bought her car, everything. You know what she said? "Oh, so now you're keeping score? Real nice, Mark. Real nice. This is exactly what I was talking about with the girls. You don't understand what I need emotionally. You just throw money at everything and think that's enough." I was like, "What? You're the one who's always talking about wanting more money, a bigger house, a better car. I'm the one who's been trying to make you happy this whole time." But she wouldn't hear it. Kept going on about how I'm twisting her words and how she didn't mean it like that and how I never understand her. We went back and forth for like an hour. Every time I tried to talk about what I heard, she'd either 1, say I was taking it wrong, 2, try to make it my fault somehow, 3, start crying and saying I was attacking her, 4, change the subject completely. Finally, she says, "Fine, you want me to say I'm sorry? I'm sorry. Happy now? Can we go to bed?" Like that fixes everything. Like she didn't just admit to everyone that she's basically waiting for a better offer to come along. I ended up sleeping in the guest room. She texted me at like 2 a.m. saying, "Thanks for making me feel terrible, and hope you're happy now that you've ruined our night." I didn't respond. What's even the point? She clearly doesn't get why I'm upset. Or worse, she gets it but doesn't care. This morning was weird. She acted like nothing happened, made coffee, asked what I wanted for dinner later. Normal stuff, but I noticed she kept checking her phone more than usual. Maybe I'm paranoid now, but it got me thinking, is she already looking for that upgrade she talked about? I tried to work from home today but couldn't focus. Keep replaying everything in my head. Started looking back at old photos on my phone. Found this one from our wedding day. We both looked so happy. Now, I'm wondering if she was thinking about upgrading, even back then. The more I think about it, the more stuff I remember. Like how she always wants me to go to her work events, but then acts weird when I'm there. Or how she never posts photos of us together on her Instagram anymore. Or how she's been working late more often lately. Maybe I'm reading too much into everything now. But after hearing what she really thinks of me, I don't know what to believe anymore. At that point, I didn't know what to do next. Part of me wanted to brush it off, but another part kept asking, what's there to fix? She straight up said she'd leave me for someone better. How do you come back from that? I just acted normal through the following days, but I noticed that her phone addiction got worse, way worse. She's basically glued to it now, always typing away. But the second I walk near her, she flips it over or locks the screen. And she's got this new thing where she takes calls in another room, so it's work stuff. But since when does work need so many private conversations? And it's not just that. She's even stopped giving the bare minimum in our relationship. No more small check-ins, no more asking how my day was, no more little moments of affection. It's like she's physically here but mentally somewhere else. Somewhere way more interesting than me. Hell, half the time I feel like I'm just background noise in my own house. So the other day, I was paying our bills, as usual, and I noticed something that made me feel like an absolute idiot. I've been handling all our major expenses, the mortgage, utilities, both our car payments, insurance, everything. Meanwhile, Ava's salary just goes into her personal account. She throws maybe a couple $100 toward groceries sometimes, but that's it. When I brought this up, she got super defensive, saying stuff like, we agreed this arrangement works best, and you know I'm saving for our future. Yeah, right, our future. The one where she replaces me with someone better. She's been cancelling our plans a lot too. Last week, we were supposed to have dinner together on Wednesday. Something we've done every week since we got married. She texted me at 4:30 saying she had to work late, but then I saw her co-worker's Instagram story showing half the office leaving for happy hour at 3. When I asked her about it later, she said she forgot about the work thing and didn't want to make me feel bad. She said it with a smirk on her face. Money's become a weird issue too. She used to at least pretend to care about our budget. Now she's spending like crazy. New clothes, expensive makeup, salon visits every other week. When I mentioned maybe cutting back since I'm paying for everything, she started crying about how I'm financially controlling and holding her back. Holding her back from what exactly? Spending all my money while she hoards hers? I tried talking to my best friend Mike about all this. He got quiet for a minute, then told me something I didn't know. Apparently, he and his wife saw Ava at this fancy restaurant downtown last week. She was dressed up way more than she ever does when we go out. Mike's wife wanted to go say hi, but before they could, some guy came and sat down at Ava's table. Mike said he figured I knew about it and didn't want to cause drama by mentioning it. That same night, Ava had told me she was having dinner with her sister, Kay. When I casually mentioned running into Mike downtown, she didn't even flinch, just said, "Oh, that's nice," and changed the subject. The lying is so easy for her now. I've started noticing other changes too. She's bought all these new outfits but never wears them at home or when we go out together. Her gym schedule makes no sense. Supposedly going at 6 a.m. some days, but her car's still in the driveway when I leave at 7:30. Coming home smelling like perfume she doesn't own. Always has some story ready about where she's been, but the details never quite add up. The weird thing is, when her family visits, she acts like everything's perfect. Last Sunday, her parents came over for dinner. Suddenly, she's all lovey-dovey, sitting next to me, touching my arm when she talks, laughing super loud at everything I say. The second they left, right back to barely acknowledging me. I feel like I'm going crazy sometimes. Like, am I just paranoid now because of what I heard her say to her friends? Or have I been blind this whole time? The more I think about it, the more obvious it seems. She's been checking out of this marriage for a while. That conversation I overheard wasn't just random complaining. It was her telling her friends what she really thinks. The most messed up part? She still expects me to handle everything. Pay all the bills, fix stuff around the house, deal with the car maintenance, everything a husband should do. But the second I expect anything from her, even just basic honesty about where she's been, I'm suffocating her. I kept thinking about something my dad told me when I was younger. He said, actions tell you everything you need to know about how someone feels about you. Well, Ava's actions are pretty clear now. I'm just a convenience to her. Someone to pay the bills and keep the house running while she does whatever she wants. But everything changed one day when my laptop died completely. Just wouldn't turn on at all. I had this super important work presentation the next day and all my files were on there. I was freaking out because I needed to finish some edits. And Ava has this nice work laptop she brings home, asked if I could borrow it for an hour tops just to access my cloud drive and fix the presentation. She got super weird about it, said she needed to clean up work stuff first and that she'd set it up for me later. But she had a yoga class, yeah right, and rushed out before doing anything. Left her laptop bag right there in the living room though. Now, I've never gone through her stuff before, never wanted to, but I really needed to fix this presentation. And she'd logged into my laptop plenty of times before when she needed it, so I figured it wasn't a big deal to use hers. We're married, right? Opened up Chrome to access my cloud drive, and you know how it shows your most visited sites? There's Tinder, right there, not even hidden. Next to it, some dating site I've never heard of, and her email was open with a bunch of messages from guys. My hands were shaking so bad, I almost dropped her laptop. There were all these conversations with Graham. There were all these conversations with different guys. She had profiles on multiple sites. But the worst part, in all of them, she listed herself as separated and looking to upgrade. She'd written this whole thing about how she was stuck in a stagnant marriage and ready to meet someone who matches my ambition, someone who could give her the lifestyle she deserves. The same stuff she'd said to her friends that night. But now she was advertising it to every guy in a 50-mile radius. I just sat there reading message after message, guys telling her she deserves better, her complaining about me, setting up meetups at hotels. Some of these conversations went back months. I kept looking until I noticed something else. She had a Google Calendar open in another tab, all these yoga classes and girls' nights and work events. They lined up perfectly with her dating app meetups. But there's one conversation that got me throwing up. A guy telling her how good the night was. I knew I was done with everything related to her after seeing this. I started taking pictures of everything with my phone, not because I wanted to, but because I knew she'd deny it all if I didn't have proof. The whole time I'm doing this, my hands are shaking and I feel sick to my stomach. Then I found the worst part. She had this folder in her Google Drive called New Life Planning. Inside were screenshots of houses she liked, cars she wanted, even some kind of budget spreadsheet. But it was all calculated with way more money than I make. She had all these notes about the kind of guy she was looking for, how much he should earn, what kind of car he should drive, where he should live. It was like reading a shopping list, but instead of groceries, she was shopping for my replacement. And get this, she had a whole section about how to maximize assets during a divorce. She'd been researching divorce lawyers and alimony laws, planning it all out while still living off my money. I managed to finish my work presentation somehow, but I honestly don't remember doing it. Put everything back exactly how I found it. When she came home from yoga, I just watched her lie about where she'd been. She even made up this whole story about this great class she'd just taken. Meanwhile, I knew she'd actually been meeting some guy named Brad at a coffee shop. The next few days were surreal. I had to act normal while knowing everything, watching her text these guys right in front of me, probably thinking she's so clever, listening to her make up excuses about where she's going. The whole time I'm thinking about all those messages I saw, all those plans she's making, all those lies. Here's the really messed up thing. In some of her messages to these guys, she talks about how faithful she is, how she'd never cheat, and is waiting until she finds the right guy before leaving her marriage. Like somehow that makes it better. She's literally shopping for my replacement while living in my house and spending my money. But instead of confronting Ava right away, I decided to play the long game. I talked to a lawyer, Found this guy David who specializes in divorces. Showed him everything I'd discovered. He gave me some solid advice about protecting myself. Turns out Ava's new life planning folder might actually help me. Shows she's been planning to leave for ages while letting me support her completely. David helped me make a detailed list of everything I needed to do. First up was money. I've been handling all our finances for years, so making changes wasn't too hard. Opened a new account at a different bank. Started moving my paycheck there instead of our joint account. Left just enough in the joint account for basic bills. When Ava noticed the joint account was lower than usual, I used her own excuses against her. Told her work was getting weird about overtime lately and we needed to budget better. She freaked out a bit, started saying stuff about needing money for her personal expenses. I just shrugged and said, times are tough. Funny how she talks about wanting someone with more money but can't handle having less access to mine. Started documenting everything too. Every time she lies about where she's going, every weird expense, every late night work event. I've got this whole spreadsheet now. David says it'll help show a pattern when we go to court. Even started keeping track of when her car's gone versus when she claims to be places. The numbers don't add up, like, at all. The really interesting part has been slowly backing away from all the stuff I used to do for her. She had this whole routine of me taking care of everything while she did whatever she wanted. So I started forgetting things, like when her car needed an oil change. Usually I'm right on top of that stuff. This time, I just didn't mention it. She had to figure it out herself, or this thing with her parents' anniversary dinner. Every year, I'm the one who makes reservations, buys gifts, handles everything. This year? Nope. When she asked about it, I just said, "Oh, I thought you were handling that this time." She had to scramble to put something together last minute. Her parents definitely noticed the difference. I also started going to the gym too. Not because of her, but because I needed somewhere to put all this angry energy. Found this 24-hour place near my office. Go there instead of coming straight home after work. Ava actually complained about it. Said I'm not spending enough time with her. Pretty rich coming from someone who's actively trying to replace me. The money thing really started showing results last week. She wanted to buy some expensive dress for a work event. Usually she just gets it, and I deal with the credit card bill. This time, the card declined. She called me all upset, and I just said, yeah, we need to watch our spending right now. You should have heard how fast her voice changed. Started talking about how maybe I should look for better opportunities or ask for a raise. I've been saving everything I can now. Cancelled all these random subscriptions she had that I was paying for. Switched our cable package to something cheaper. Started buying generic brands instead of the fancy stuff she likes. Every time she complains, I just remind her about budgeting and being responsible. The best part? She's starting to realise that her perfect life was only perfect because I was making it that way. All these little things I handled, the house maintenance, the car stuff, the bills, the planning, she's having to deal with them herself now, and she's terrible at it. One time, the garage door broke. Usually I'd drop everything and fix it. This time I just said we should probably call someone and went back to watching TV. She waited 2 days thinking I'd handle it. Then finally had to call a repair service herself. Cost her $200 from her own money. Suddenly she's talking about how everything's getting so expensive. The really crazy thing is watching her try to keep up appearances. She's still on those dating apps. Yeah, I check sometimes through her laptop browser history. Yeah, maybe that's wrong. But honestly, who cares at this point? David said I need to stay calm and stick to the plan. Easy for him to say. He's not the one watching his wife pretend everything's fine while knowing she's been planning to leave for months. But I'm managing. Even helped her pack the car earlier. She was all, "You're being so sweet lately." Yeah, just wait. The drive up to the lake house was weird. Ava was acting like we were on our honeymoon or something. Kept trying to hold my hand while I drove. Taking selfies for her Instagram, talking about all the couples activities she planned. I just nodded and went along with it. The place was exactly what you'd expect. One of those massive modern houses with floor-to-ceiling windows everywhere. Probably costs more than I make in 2 months just for a weekend. Ava's eyes got all wide when we pulled up. She loves this kind of stuff, always sending me links to houses like this, saying goals. Meanwhile, I'm the one paying all our actual bills. Everyone else showed up around the same time. Chloe and Ben got there first, of course they did. Chloe's probably been coaching Ava this whole time. Then Sarah and Paul. And finally, Lisa and George, all standing around this huge kitchen island, talking about their jobs and vacation plans and whatever. Ava was in full show-off mode, kept touching my arm, laughing super loud at everything I said, telling everyone how amazing things have been lately. I caught Chloe giving her these little nods like, good job or something. Made me feel sick watching it. We did dinner at this massive dining table. You know, the kind that's basically just for show, because who has 12 people over for dinner regularly? Everyone's talking about their amazing lives and careers and stuff. After dinner, they all wanted to hang out on the deck. It's like 75 degrees out. Perfect weather. The girls were taking pictures, probably for their backup Instagram accounts. Yeah, Ava, I know about those too. The guys were doing that thing where they pretend to care about each other's jobs. I waited until everyone was settled in. Told them I had something special planned, something for all of us to watch. Ava looked so excited, probably thought I was going to play some sappy video about our relationship or something. Instead, I connected my laptop to the TV they had out there. First thing that popped up, Ava's Tinder profile. The one where she calls herself separated. Then her nude photos she sent to guys. Then her whole new life planning folder. You guys should have seen her face. She tried to grab my laptop, but I moved away, a smirk playing on my lips. I just started reading some of her messages out loud. The ones where she talks about being stuck with me. Where she tells guys she's looking for someone more ambitious. Where she plans meetups and uses her friends as alibis. The best part? Her friends' faces. Sarah literally got up and walked away. Chloe, you know, the one who started all this with her "what if someone better came along" question. She just kept saying, "oh my God," over and over. The guys all looked super uncomfortable. Pretty sure Ben was mentally checking his own wife's phone in his head. Ava tried everything. First, she screamed at me for going through her laptop. Funny how she forgot about privacy when she wanted to use my credit cards. Then she tried to say it wasn't what it looked like. It was exactly what it looked like. Then she started crying and saying I was trying to humiliate her. Nah, she did that to herself. I pulled out the divorce papers and put them on the table. Told her, "Remember when you let me borrow your laptop because mine broke? Thanks for that, by the way." Really opened my eyes. She kept trying to get her friends to back her up, but nobody would. Even Chloe, who's usually ready to defend Ava no matter what, just sat there looking at her feet. Guess it's different when there's actual proof right in front of them. I grabbed my bag and told everyone I'd already paid my share of the rental so they could stay and enjoy their weekend. Ava was full on crying by then, trying to follow me to the car, saying she could explain everything. The last thing I heard before I got in my car was Sarah saying, "I can't believe you do this to him." Coming from Sarah, that's pretty rich. Update 1. All right, Reddit, you want more? You got it. Let's dig into the aftermath because trust me, the drama didn't end at the lake house. So I drove away, leaving Ava and her stunned crew in the dust. The drive home was cathartic, a weird mix of anger, relief, and a strange sense of vindication. I kept replaying their faces in my head, the shock, the awkward silence, the sheer unadulterated discomfort. It was glorious. I got back to the house, which felt strangely empty but also peaceful. I grabbed a beer, sat on the couch, and just let it all sink in. I'd done it. I'd finally called her out on her BS. The next morning, my phone started blowing up. It was Ava, of course. A barrage of texts. "How could you do this to me? You embarrassed me in front of everyone. We need to talk." I ignored them all. I wasn't in the mood for any more of her manipulative tactics. Then came the calls. She tried calling me from her phone, then from Chloe's, then from some random number. I just kept hitting reject. Finally, she left a voicemail, her voice a mix of anger and desperation. "Mark, you need to come back! We can work this out! You're making a huge mistake!" A mistake? I scoffed, listening to the voicemail. You're the one who made the mistake, Ava. Later that day, I got a call from David, my lawyer. He'd seen the social media buzz. Apparently, someone at the lake house had live tweeted the whole meltdown. The hashtag #LakeHouseBetrayal was trending. David was practically giddy. Mark, this is gold. This public humiliation will seriously help your case. I had a small smirk. He told me to document everything. The texts, the calls, any attempt she made to contact me. He also advised me to change the locks on the house, just in case. She might try to come back and take some of your belongings, he warned. Or worse, try to destroy evidence. I took his advice. Changed the locks, installed security cameras, and even set up a temporary restraining order. I wasn't taking any chances. A few days later, I got a knock on the door. It was Ava, looking disheveled and teary-eyed. Mark, please let me explain, she begged. It's not what you think. Oh, it's exactly what I think, Ava, I said, my voice cold. I saw the messages, I saw the dating profiles, I saw the new life planning folder. There's nothing to explain. She tried to push past me, but I stood my ground. Get off my property, Ava, I said. You're trespassing. She started crying, saying how much she loved me and how she'd made a mistake. I didn't buy it for a second. You had months to tell me how you felt, I said. Instead, you lied, you cheated, and you planned my replacement. Now you're just reaping what you sowed. She finally left, but not before screaming, You'll regret this, Mark. You'll see! The next few weeks were a whirlwind. David handled most of the legal stuff. He filed for divorce, citing infidelity and emotional distress. He also used the social media frenzy as evidence of her character, which, according to him, was a masterstroke. Ava tried to fight back, of course. She hired a high-powered lawyer and tried to paint me as a controlling and abusive husband. But David had anticipated this. He presented the evidence I'd gathered. The bank statements, the emails, the dating profiles, the new life planning folder. He even played some of the recorded phone calls where she admitted to lying. Her lawyer tried to argue that it was all taken out of context, but the judge wasn't buying it. He sided with me on almost every issue. The divorce was finalized a few months later. I got the house, the car, and a significant portion of her savings. She was ordered to pay alimony, which felt like a slap in the face after everything she'd done. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the sense of closure. I'd finally stood up for myself. I'd finally broken free from her manipulative grip. And you know what, Reddit? I'm doing better than ever. I've started going out more, reconnecting with old friends, and even trying new hobbies. I've also met someone new, a woman who actually appreciates me for who I am. Ava, on the other hand, is still trying to pick up the pieces. Her reputation is tarnished, her friends have abandoned her, and she's struggling to make ends meet. Karma's a bitch, isn't it? Update 2! Okay. Reddit, let's dive into the juicy details. The little nuggets of chaos that really drove home just how spectacularly Ava's world imploded. After the divorce, I started hearing whispers through the grapevine. Mutual friends, acquaintances, everyone had a story to tell. It was like a slow-motion car crash, and everyone was rubbernecking. First, there was the job situation. Remember how she was always talking about her career and how I wasn't ambitious enough? Well, turns out her performance at work had been slipping. Her constant phone use, the disappearing acts, the general air of distraction, it all caught up with her. She got put on a performance improvement plan, which, let's be honest, is corporate speak for you're about to be fired. And then, the dating scene. Oh, the dating scene. After the lake house debacle, her reputation was, shall we say, less than stellar. The dating apps were filled with guys who'd seen the viral posts. Some even recognized her from the photos I'd shown at the lake house. She became a cautionary tale, a don't stick your dick in crazy warning. She tried to spin it, of course, claimed I was a vindictive ex and that the photos were doctored, but the damage was done. The guys who'd been so eager to meet her before suddenly ghosted. She was left with the dregs, the ones who were either too clueless or too desperate to care about her past. And then there were the friends. Chloe, Sarah, Lisa, the whole crew. They slowly but surely distanced themselves. At first, they tried to play both sides, offering vague platitudes about staying out of it. But as the details of Ava's deception came to light, they realized siding with her was a PR nightmare. They started avoiding her calls, cancelling plans, and eventually just cut her off completely. I heard through a mutual friend that Chloe even blocked Ava on all social media. Apparently, Chloe's husband, Ben, was furious that his wife had been involved in Ava's schemes. He'd even made her go to couples counselling to rebuild trust. Talk about collateral damage. Sarah, who was always so quick to judge my lack of ambition, found herself in a similar situation. Her husband, Paul, was mortified by her behaviour at the lake house. He'd always prided himself on his upstanding reputation, and the whole scandal had tarnished his image. He started spending more time at work, working late, and less time at home. Sound familiar? Lisa, the one who'd made that snide comment about me being good with the house stuff, suddenly found herself dealing with a leaky roof and a broken washing machine. Turns out those husbandly duties aren't so easy when you're doing them yourself. She even tried to call me asking for advice. I just hung up. The financial situation was the cherry on top. Ava, who'd always been so obsessed with lifestyle, suddenly found herself struggling to pay rent. The alimony payments were a drop in the bucket compared to her previous spending habits. She had to sell her fancy car, downsize to a cramped apartment, and even start clipping coupons. I heard she tried to ask her parents for help, but they were furious about the whole scandal. They'd always liked me, and they were disgusted by how she treated me. They told her to figure it out herself. And then there was the social media fallout. The #LakeHouseBetrayal hashtag had taken on a life of its own. People were sharing memes, making TikTok videos, even writing songs about Ava's downfall. She became a symbol of entitlement and betrayal, a cautionary tale for the digital age. She tried to fight back, of course. Posted long, rambling rants about cancel culture and online bullying, but it only made things worse. People just mocked her harder. The whole thing was a masterclass in karma. Ava, who'd always been so concerned with appearances, had her entire life exposed for the world to see. Her carefully constructed facade crumbled, revealing the shallow, manipulative person underneath. And me? I was thriving. My career took off. I got a promotion, a raise, and even some recognition for my work. I started traveling, taking classes, and just enjoying life. I even started dating again and met a wonderful woman who actually appreciated me for who I am.